Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
I have been saying this all season long, and I don't care how negative you think I am. That was an abomination to Game of Thrones. What a waste of all of these years watching a show that eventually just disregarded everything that ever was. Heel turn Dany in 2 days. Tyrion, what is going on? Bronn is the master of coin. Jon Snow is sent to the wall to protect nothing. They eradicated the White Walkers in an episode. Do you remember? It was just a few episodes ago. I am so upset. I wish this was fake. I am absolutely, actually outraged. Game of Thrones is one of my favorite series. George R.R. Martin is one of my favorite authors. And I can't believe that I just had to watch that go down as miserably and poor as it did. And many of those things, James Mattern, my co-host, who I bring into this conversation, and I'm sorry to jump right into it, but many of those things will happen in the books. And that's what's the saddest part of it all, is that so many things, the Mad Dany turn, that should have been handled with care and detail. Jon Snow, if he goes back to a wall, okay?
Yeah.
That will be handled with care and detail. This was me finding out the spoilers to a show without a book, without watching the movie. I had no choice. They just slammed it in my face, and now I'm stuck knowing that this is how it ends, but I don't know how we get there. James L. Mattern, what is your first reaction? I am very upset.
Boy, you just
Yes.
you did not open one present up at Christmas.
Nope.
You did all of them at the same time, and I couldn't see what you got. First of all, hi everybody. Welcome to Saint
James,
Snow.
our last episode.
This is going to be an interesting one. So here's the thing. I knew how it ends, and that was good. I knew how it was going to be. So I had no disappointment. My disappointment was 2 seconds and a read, and I got over it. How do I feel about it? I think the execution was not perfect. I think ad nauseum. We all know what the problem is. I really don't. I mean, we have to talk for like 60 minutes. I hope it's not 60 minutes of they should have spent more time and done more episodes and slowly told a story. I don't mind how it ends. I don't mind this storytelling. I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of things that tie back that are fascinating. I don't know if you want to go open those gifts right now, but we can. We can do whatever you want. I can address some things. I will say this, and I guess I'll get this off my chest from the beginning.
All right.
You did yours.
Go ahead.
I kind of like that people are furious about it. I'm upset that people are, but I'm kind of enjoy it. I feel I've had a weird relationship with the idea of fandom in the last couple of weeks, and especially even this weekend, and the entitlement of fans to have a show or an art or an artist give them exactly what they want. And it seemed like this was an example of it. People had so much expectations. People got smarter than the source material. People thought they cracked the code. I think if they would have given us the things that we've been expecting, it would have been, I mean, would that have been satisfying with Dany just running it at the end, or Jon? This show has taken, one of the reasons I got in this show is because I heard that it is unlike anything else where it just takes things away from you. You think you're going to get something. You are so invested in one character, and they just get offed at a wedding. They just disappear. And for some reason, we just fell in love with the idea of chalk, of just the favorites getting through. And the favorites didn't. It was satisfying.
They have for seasons. Yes. They weren't just offed at a wedding. There was storyline and plot and things that happened and dialogue that got them offed at a wedding. And to sit here and say that the fans, the real fans of the show, are pissed off because it didn't go their way. First of all, we saw Nilla Nilla. You know what I mean? That's a book fucking theory. Azor Ahai, which is what it should have been. When we have said for many years, theorized that Jon Snow would stab Dany through the chest, a la Azor Ahai, Prince that was promised, many of those things. And that happened, right? A lot of Danny Mad Queen, a longtime theory, happened. Things happened. It's not that people are upset about the fact that they didn't get what they wanted or they thought would happen. It's that it was so poorly executed, so rushed. I mean, I did not, you can put your hands. Like,
no, that was the problem with the whole thing. It's rushed.
This episode drew out things. This season drew out things that didn't need to be there. There are so many loose ends. Go back and watch the show tomorrow. Start from season fucking 1 and see all the loose ends that have gone nowhere. Nowhere. They literally killed Daenerys off. Danny, the queen, from the moment 1, the person we're supposed to be following. They've been 2 episodes. Heel turned her, murdered her, and then the scene after she died, they had jumped time without giving me any reaction. Why were the Unsullied not wild now? They wanted to kill everybody. It's their queen. They did everything for her. The Dothraki, they just imprisoned Jon Snow. Now all of a sudden, they're Westerosi. And they actually put people in jail? Get the fuck out of here. It was embarrassing. The show was over halfway through, James. That all happened, and then for the last 30 minutes, it was like falling action. I remember sitting there, I was like, oh my God. This is it. This is it. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I'm emotional.
Well, as you should. It's the end of something that people got invested in for years, right?
Yeah.
And put everything into it.
Yeah.
People put all of their emotions into this television show. Every week was a Super Bowl. It was crazy.
But I've been a part of phenomenons. You know what I mean? I'm wearing my Harry Potter shirt again because I knew this would happen. But not because I read spoilers, just because I knew all season. Everyone's been talking to me. Brian, Alex, James, except for Anthony, who agrees that this show sucks. I've been saying all season, everyone's like, oh, you're so negative. You're so negative. And then they just pull out a finale that you wouldn't even recognize within the series as a whole. I mean, it was really... Danny, the Mad Queen, right?
Yes.
Paranoid. Freaked out. She was upset about Jon not kissing her last episode. Yet, let's walk up to the Iron Throne by myself. She never even sits on it. Jon comes out. She has no protection around her. No counsel. Nothing. And Jon just kills her. And that is it. And you know what? If we're going to try to make it philosophical, well, that's the Game of Thrones. And sometimes it just happens. No. Lazy writing. That could happen, but they did not do that.
I did not enjoy that part as much. That did seem extremely rushed and melodramatic. And I really, as I was watching the beginning, I thought, how great would it be if we got at least a half a season of Dany Evil? That speech that she gave, framed let's just be blunt, World War II. It gave me the chills, and I think that's what it was supposed to, of what a dictator does, of Hitler. I mean, to me, it's framed like that, of this mad leader in victory. Thank you. That is, I think that was page 2 of Mein Kampf that she was reading from, to be quite honest. And that was chilling and outstanding. And I'm like, God, her playing bad like that is something I would have loved to see more of. And then she becomes the giddy schoolgirl alone with Jon. Yes, Jon probably should not have been allowed to go alone up there, and she probably would have someone with her, but she feels she won the head of it and wanted to have this moment alone, apparently, and went up there.
But James, I mean, it doesn't upset you at all, and I know we touched on this last week when she had the Mad Queen turn. It doesn't upset you at all that in the span of less than 3 hours, they took a character that they have been building, that we have watched liberate and free and cry over the death of one child, let alone a whole city, to see that drastic turn without any of the real connection to it and without any of the, the nuance of what could actually happen to make this woman tick. Yes, they showed in very quick succession people close to her, things that she cared about getting destroyed. But I mean, this is a woman that we have been following forever, and she just, in 2 episodes, James, in 2 fucking episodes, that was really, and then Jon, we'll get to Jon Snow, because that one might be one of the things that might put me over the edge.
Okay.
Let's talk about Danny first.
So here's the thing with that. I get that. I think it probably could have been dragged out a little more. Not dragged out, but just drawn out.
Fleshed out.
Fleshed out. Yeah, what a good word.
Yeah.
Huh? Fleshed.
Fleshed.
But, so this argument to people when they want to discuss like the reality of it. She's been through this and didn't break. Been through this and didn't break. Eventually you break. Like, it's not, you just don't stay Teflon. You either do or you don't. You take it to the grave that you took a million things like a champ, or at some point, eventually, one domino drops and it falls. That's what happens. It's weird. I had I wouldn't say a mental breakdown years ago, but I had a horrible case of OCD that was subtly, I can look back at where it was manifesting for years, subtly. No one would have ever dramatically noticed it. It's just little things that I might have dealt with. And you wouldn't think it. The thing that made me crack, in hindsight, if you put it in paper, why would that make me crack compared to everything else?
Sure.
You just don't know till it happens. We invest and we want something rich. This is when I started doing comedy, I had so much energy, and by the third minute I'd start bombing. It would make no sense to me, and I got told that I couldn't follow myself. And this show was so unlike anything else, and I kind of had a feeling it would have this problem. It couldn't follow itself. It's hard to stick the landing when you set the bar as high as it did. It's just, what can you do? You can do some twists and turns, which they did, and it leaves you disappointed. You could go chalk and go with the traditional story, which it never was, and then we would be upset that it wasn't. My big issue, I just think these guys were checked out. I think they sped it up. I don't think it's necessarily because they don't have a source material.
It's absolutely because they don't have a source material.
Because the 1 year, to me, and a lot of people who are critical of the show, like big fans and break it down, are in agreement of season 6, probably the best season, and that was the first full year without
doesn't matter
the material. But that was a traditional season. That was 10 episodes. I will argue that the two worst seasons, if you want to say the last two are the worst two, aren't necessarily because they don't have the source material. It's because they shortened them out. They didn't go
by the writer's choice.
They tried to go half pregnant.
By the writer's choice.
You can't get half pregnant.
No, you can't get half pregnant.
You can't get half pregnant.
It was by the writer's choice, and
yes.
And what happens after season 5, there is a natural action that happens after that season that the source material did support. And what we saw in the last 2 seasons is that the writers can never actually write a scene of dialogue. They can never, when they do something bad, they don't like to have a conversation with the characters because they don't know how to write the characters. And I think it's been very clear that the writers never quite understood these characters to begin with. I was reading a really great article on Tyrion Lannister today, and I was saying this last episode. One of the biggest travesties of this series is taking a character like Tyrion Lannister and creating the wrong man. I mean, that's not Tyrion Lannister. Everything he did in this episode, this whole season, him crying at the bodies of Cersei and Jaime. I mean, then as a prisoner, he stands next to Grey Worm after his queen is killed.
That was pretty funny.
And then he says, Bran should be the king. And then it's like, okay. And then all of the people that we love, Brienne, whatever, all the really... If Dany was actually killed by Jon Snow, they would consider all of those people detractors. Why would Sansa not be considered a detractor? Arya, Dany never trusted her to begin with in the first place.
Well, because there's no one to call them that.
No, but they all come together, and the Unsullied just go off. They leave. Grey Worm, they would have taken these people out. They would have taken these people out.
And then who would have ran them? And then who would have ran the country? Grey Worm would have?
You can't wrap
Grey Worm's a soldier.
You can't wrap this up in... Yeah, Grey Worm's a soldier, but all season, they've been actually positioning him as someone who actually feels revenge and loyalty. And the scene that you see when he's talking to Jon Snow at the very beginning of the episode is proof of that. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to kill these motherfuckers. He believes in Dany. He thinks she's right. It's not about just a purchased unsullied relationship. Missandei dying changed that too. And that's what we saw, the change in the Grey Room. And now all of a sudden he's just back to like, well, I'm a paid soldier and we're going to go back overseas and that's it. I mean, what the fuck?
That is puzzling.
What the fuck?
It's interesting how he would have found out that Danny's dead. What would have really happened? Instead, we do skip. And we have a council.
A huge
now the council is
moment.
basically all the lords that are left of Westeros.
Where's Dorne?
Well, there's a Prince Dorne. He was in the thing.
Oh,
you didn't recognize him?
No, didn't, because they mentioned a Prince Dorne in the last episode,
he was dressed like,
and they never.
He was dressed like Martell.
Well,
he was clearly.
What's his name?
They didn't give it.
Not important.
But he's dressed as that. He was clearly from Sunspear, dressed as the Red Viper was. So yeah.
James, they skipped the entire end of the story. Danny dying, and a guy. First of all, wow, way to roll up the piece of paper that said Jon is Aegon Targaryen and throw it in the fucking garbage. Let's get into that real quick. Let's talk about Jon for a second.
Okay.
I think most would agree, and it's funny because I kept laughing throughout the episode because on Reddit, a common thing is just that Jon Snow all season has just said, she's my queen.
Oh, yeah.
She's my queen, right? That's the big joke. He said it many times this episode, even when he kills Danny. The fact that Jon Snow, who is Aegon Targaryen, which we thought was Bran's big mission, was to like let us know that, even though Samuel found it out too, is now sentenced to the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
That is protecting nothing. And his family is in charge, and Bran Stark is the king. Sansa is the queen of the North. The people have decided the Starks could just rule everything. Fuck it. Well, whatever.
Okay.
Jon Snow, in the end, his whole family abandons him, including Arya. And he has to be sent away when he has been the biggest champion of saving them from the White Walkers to killing Danny, who was crazy. Explain.
What is
Make me see how
so
this
your
is not
argument is
terrible.
there? Why is there a Night's Watch if there's no White Walkers?
Why is Jon Snow being punished when Jon Snow has been the core of so many things and his whole family's in charge? Why is that happening? The Unsullied are leaving.
Because apparently
what the fuck?
Apparently they got through.
Tyrion's okay though. His treason to Danny when he let Jaime go is okay, but Jon Snow's a treasonous one.
They look at it as a greater good. They figured out who their king was. Yeah, I mean Tyrion should not be running his own trial and picking a leader. That's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah. So let me ask you this: before the opening scene of the very first episode, when they found a White Walker and that there was a report of it, right? When was the last time anyone saw any White Walkers? 1,000 years? Yeah,
long time.
There was still a Night's Watch.
Oh God, James, really? That's the reasoning?
No, but people are so outraged of what's he protect. There was a Night's Watch at the beginning of the show, and they didn't think there was any White Walkers then. There was still a Night's Watch.
Yeah, but all
so
of
this
that
justification
stuff was
doesn't make any sense then the whole idea of it didn't make sense and was just a device.
But the whole history of the White Walkers was always a bunch of tales, and this was finally what we saw this season was finally this thing you had heard of for many generations, for many millennia. Not millennia, but thousands of years you've been hearing about this. They finally formed an army and were defeated in a day by Danny, who all season and leading up to the season has had no reason to be a mad queen or to be seen as such. Then they decided to swerve it and then say that she's somehow crazy even though she gets poor counsel from the people around her and is losing everybody when she decides to put her own ambitions on hold to save the realm. And yes, she burns the city to the ground, which is super uncharacteristic given what they've given us for Danny this season. It's the butterfly effect. And George R. Martin said this from the beginning of the series. In the very first season, they just took a character out and replaced it with somebody else. And he said, okay, well, it's not like a major character, but there's a butterfly effect to when you change these things because eventually that person might come back and they won't be there because they're not that character. And you have to figure that shit out. This has been, besides this season, just all of it has been the butterfly effect of just changes made and poor execution. They just didn't care in the end to give any fair dialogue. I mean, I really thought it was a dream sequence after Dany was killed, and then Tyrion's nervous about his first meeting as the Hand of the King, and everyone walks out.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, what is going on?
Why is that not good?
Why is that not good?
Something human at the end of this council. I love this council. Here, I'm gonna be honest. I got emotional at the end. God, it was really nice that the supporting characters ended up being the actual winners. That this country is going to be ruled by basically, I don't know, man, 6 men. I'm a 6 man. Like, that's who I really identified with that. All these side guys, when I ask my favorite characters, it's usually those people who ended up sitting at that council, because I really don't like to go with the obvious stars. It's just not who I relate to. I always wanted to win Best Supporting Actor. I always wanted to be the Intercontinental Champ. I never wanted to be the lead. And I kind of find the justice that the cogs of the country are actually the country, are running it. That's the last ones we see there. I really found some warmth and joy, and in a sense that it really was still about bastards and beat up things. Let's look at some
things. Bran the Broken.
He's broken.
Don't forget Bran the Broken.
How's this not his story? I mean, the war started with him seeing Cersei and Jaime and then getting pushed out. And it changed his whole life. I love that. In hindsight, I love that he's the king. That is his story, and that it came back to him. I love that Sansa couldn't wait to get out of the North. Could not wait. And wanted to be the queen. Wanted to be someone else's queen. Wanted to marry Joffrey. Was looking forward to it initially. And now she goes home, says that we are not under the crown. She is the queen of the North, and she's her own queen. She's not married to anyone. She's the bottom bitch. She's the top. She's the bottom bitch and the pimp. Yeah, you all Google that up, man, or just watch a Chappelle special. That is something that when in hindsight, when I finally do rewatch again, I am going to notice more little breadcrumbs of that. She ends up being the queen of the. I love that.
You can save your time. There's no breadcrumbs. Because when the writers started writing the series, they had source material, and then they had to figure out how to get from point A to point B, and failed miserably. So don't look for crumbs, because they were lost. They had what they knew, but they did not know enough, and they did not plant enough for any of it to matter. There are a ton, and I can't right now.
There could be enough in the source material that they adapted.
Well, reacting now in a very short amount of time, it's hard for me to go through the list of loose ends that weren't tied up, which I'm sure tomorrow there will be an article online with all the loose ends. I'll go on Reddit tonight before I sleep and read all the misery. And it just goes to show, I mean, the amount of time that was spent with people just walking in this episode, beautiful shots of things, great, which is nice. But I mean, really, just... I know, I'm just exhausted by the whole thing. I think they dropped the ball, and they dropped the ball mightily, and this show will be remembered. If we talk about how this show will be remembered, it will not be remembered in a positive light. If people who shit on Lost, I've been saying this all season, you are ridiculous if you think that episode was better than the way that Lost ended. This is Dexter-esque. Anthony was saying it before. It's Dexter-esque. That garbage. Laughing out loud during the season of Dexter, laughing out loud during the last season of Game of Thrones, and not because it's clever as it should be, but because it's disgraceful and ridiculous and overreaching.
First of all, the fact that you stuck with Dexter. I mean, what? Well, look, I don't come to my problems. What are we doing here? I mean, what are you trying to do? I don't like the endings of lots of movies. I don't like the last episodes of lots of shows. I expect it. And I don't know. Look, it's really weird what people decide is acceptable for an end or not. I'm going to tell you right now. Ending here, everybody, if you haven't watched Breaking Bad yet, the ending of Breaking Bad's stupid. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. The gun in the back, the machine gun in the trunk, I thought was stupid, and I didn't want to have to fight people after the goddamn episode that I watched it with. I wanted to go to my room, masturbate, and stay up till 6 a.m, because that used to be the pattern back in the day. So stupid. Best part of that episode is he wants to give Jesse fucking Ben and Jerry's. Made me eat Ben and Jerry's for 3 weeks after. I craved it. Stupid. It's such a masterpiece. Yuck. I think it's a dumb thing. There's so many things that don't check out in that, but we decided it was brilliant.
No. I disagree.
The meeting with Lydia and the goddamn stevia poison. Get a job where they tied in a callback.
Talk about a show that's hard to tie up. That was a show that was hard to tie up, and that was 5 perfect seasons. As perfect as a show can be in terms of 5 seasons of quality writing.
I don't like the 4th
Gilligan,
season.
from the very fucking beginning to the very fucking end, was amazing. Bryan Cranston's incredible.
He's great.
Aaron Paul as Jesse is incredible.
No, the show's great.
No, the show is amazing. This, however, was not that. I can name, let's talk about other shows that ended successfully. 6 Feet Under ended successfully. I would say Mad Men ended successfully.
I'm rewatching that now.
I'm rewatching that right
season.
now.
So great.
I'm on season 2.
So great.
I'm on season 2. I'm trying to think of other shows right now off the top. The Leftovers, great show, ended wonderfully.
It should have didn't start good. I'll tell you that. That depressing shit. Holy my goodness.
Yeah, well, it's a depressing show.
That show should come with a goddamn noose.
It's a great show. But look, I have to say, like, I came into this finale. Now, you were spoiled last week, which you really shouldn't have done, I will say.
Yeah, braced me. I could have my moment of what I wanted to happen and finding out that it wasn't quick.
See, you're someone who's now, I think, because you read the spoilers, you almost like came to terms with it. I just witnessed this for the first time.
Well, yeah.
This is called trauma.
I had this whole show spoiled to me.
This is a traumatic experience.
But do you know that? I watched this show in the 3rd season and started becoming obsessed and reading theories and everything. I watched the 5th season with roommates knowing that John was getting whacked. I knew all that was happening.
Yeah, but I watched most of this series knowing that was going to happen too.
I knew Martell's head was going to get exploded.
Yes, so did I.
And it didn't stand in the way of me enjoying it. Now,
so did I.
Once again, the issue is, look, these guys are Benioff and Weiss, which the fact that people called it D&D has confused me all year. I'm like, Dungeons and Dragons? How did this happen? First of all, how could Dungeons and Dragons lose its reign as the D&D to these guys? They were Benioff and Weiss forever. But like I said off the air, I feel like people think that sounds like a law firm or like a clothing store. Hey, man, where'd you get your suits? Joseph A. Bank? Nah, man, Benioff and Weiss. They got them pinstripes. Let's just be frank. They are plotting their goddamn Star Wars trilogy while this should have been done. They blew up off this. Everyone was licking their wee-wees, and they were buying it, and had opportunities to do everything, and now they're taking over the franchise they grew up loving, their Cadillac, their Tonight Show. Ugh. And so their main efforts probably went to that, to a detriment to the final execution of the last 13 episodes.
How could you say that this is something that they grew up loving, that they love this show so much when they chose
No, Star Wars. They're taking over Star Wars. That is a franchise that they clearly, their hearts are in that.
Okay, well, what does that even mean to me? I don't give a fuck about
That's fine, but
they wouldn't have that. They wouldn't have that without Game of Thrones.
Without a question, yes.
And they completely just threw it out the window. And I hope George R. R. Martin and the actors, Kit Harington better come forward and cry foul on this show. I think Kit Harington, they did a huge disservice to the Jon Snow character. Think about it. Think about Jon Snow.
Okay.
Where he ends in this series is just, it's Ned Stark. It's like if, I guess what you could parallel it with is if Joffrey would have actually let Ned take the black, he would have the same story as Jon Snow to some degree. So Bran did let him take the black, and there off goes Jon Snow.
Well, Jon ends up basically where he began.
Wow. After what? But why? Why?
Because that's his story.
It's
everything in between.
It's a terrible story. It's a terrible story. His own family, all this time, his family sends him like the bastard that he is, I guess. The fact that he's a Targaryen again now means nothing. So all of us talking about the true born heir, now Dany's gone and that goes away because the true born heir killed the woman who's not actually the true-born heir?
Well,
that doesn't make any
He clearly
sense.
didn't want to play up that. Now, if he wanted to play up that I am a Targaryen, and I should be the ruler, and I killed it, maybe. but I'm assuming he's like, look, I did this for the better of the realm. Arrest me. I'm guessing that. That's, to me, seems like his personality. Let me say this. Another reason why he goes to the wall. All right, so forget the Unsullied. There are people on that council. There's lords who pledged to Daenerys, just like our girl, Yara Greyjoy. I always want to call her Lovejoy, but that's just too many other things. It sounds kind of porno. I'm sure that's been done in a porno.
Probably.
They wouldn't have stood for that. So don't forget that there's people on that council.
On that council. Yara, that's it.
Yeah, well, probably other people spoke up as well, I'm guessing.
I mean, but do you hear how you started your whole sentence? You said, I would think that Jon just handed himself over to authorities or whatever. Why are we having to like speculate about that? Like, why do we have to guess what Jon Snow did?
Show, not tell, yes.
I mean, there is an art to doing that. There is an art to leaving out scenes. They have done this now multiple times throughout this season. And it was always because they just don't know how to do it. They don't know. They don't know how to get from point A to point B in any of the storylines. They don't. Arya sets sail.
Man,
goodbye.
season 6 was really good.
Ugh, I
season
hated
6
that
was really good.
too.
You didn't like that one, but you liked 7.
I thought in 7 things were finally moving. I was like excited because we saw Dany being the queen.
Yeah.
I thought, wow. As a book reader, I was like, oh, this is what we've been waiting for. Like, Dany's in Westeros. All this shit's happening. And then this season effectively showed me that all of that was just to, I don't know. I mean, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Because I'm going to run through these notes because I have some. But the Dany Jon love story.
Yes.
Poorly executed, I think. I never really felt the vibe between them. I guess the most connected, I will give credit to this, the most connected I felt with Dany to Jon was when she got killed. Like right before that, I thought she was decent in saying whatever she was saying, giving her story. But I mean, I don't think that they let that exist. I mean, Ygritte, you would think, would be more of a true love to Jon Snow. There would be more feeling there, emotion there. It just seems like these were this is his love for her is what made him bend the knee and give up King of the North, and now he's beyond the wall. It wasn't really love. It wasn't really love, and I don't think that they did a good job showing it either way. Whether he was like, I'm actually not loving her. They just, again, they didn't. Sticking the landing is a broad term because they definitely didn't stick the landing on like every single thing that they could have stick the landing on. I don't know one thing I'm like satisfied with the ending of.
You don't like Sansa running the North?
I
enjoy that.
Not really, honestly. I think that Sansa in this last season, even in this episode, there was a quote from Arya. Try telling Sansa that Dany's the queen. All right, you just watched, Sansa was apparently, she was still at Winterfell, right? Or
Yes.
Dragonstone or where the fuck these people were, Winterfell.
Yeah.
But she knows all this happened and she's still going to fight the queen after all of that. And then all of a sudden everyone's in King's Landing and it doesn't connect. It doesn't connect. It just doesn't. We could sit here all day and say, you know what? Well, at the end of the day, let's look and be grateful for some of this shit. No. They didn't do anything to get us from there to here. And I really think that a lot of characters suffered for it. Tyrion being a huge part of that as well.
They didn't know how to do the battle, and her losing the dragons and losing army, that's been discussed by many people, just to try and equal the score in the battle, the sides, when obviously one dragon equals a lot of everything else. So she didn't even need all three.
Apparently,
yes.
Because other times they're
and part of that is making Tyrion not good. I almost feel like they're winking to the audience at the end when Tyrion's like, "Oh no, man, I'm not that good at this." Basically, it's kind of like admitting, "Yeah, I've been real shitty. I should be fired from my head coaching job. I should have got us a world title, and we got bumped out of the second round every year."
But we insist you still take it.
Silly.
But we insist you still take it because you know what? Tyrion was never actually the villain he was supposed to be. And again, in that article I read about Tyrion, they're talking a lot about like how George R. R. Martin would speak about him as his favorite character and that he was the villain. And you see when he strangles Shay and he kills Tywin and he goes overseas, the change in Tyrion. You see that he doesn't, this sentimental, watered down version of Tyrion is not accurate. It's just not. Him cry. What was the end of his story? So he chooses Bran. He mourns the loss. He does like everything in this episode. He talks more than everybody. And it doesn't, and he's the hand of the king in the end to Bran. And I think I picked Bran offhand because I thought, well, maybe Bran should be the king because he knows everything. I picked that in like a pool that I think I did in some gambling situation.
Well, he was the favorite going into the season. So someone found out and put a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's clear. Because no one, other than you, no one was talking about that.
Yeah.
No one. No one's like, yo, I got Bran. No, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. No one thought that.
Yeah.
Closed as the favorite. And then as the weeks went on, odds went back. And it was Jon Snow again. And then after, I believe, the fourth episode, or after the third, another big bet on Bran.
Yeah, well, all season, Bran was saying he's not actually Brennan Stark anymore, and that he's a three-eyed raven, and we thought that there was some other... His goal all along, actually, just so you know, was to become the king of Westeros.
I don't think it was his goal. I just think he accepts that that was where he's supposed to be. And then he knew that was going to happen.
That's what he was moving towards.
And so that it is.
This whole... So if you
but he
go
didn't
back
want
and watch
it.
a series...
He doesn't want to, but he knows that that's what's supposed to be.
Okay, so he's Jon Snow now. Bran took Jon Snow's storylines. Arya took Jon Snow's storylines. Jon Snow was, in the end, a useless... He was tossed aside.
He's clearly not useless at all. He ended up killing the queen that broke bad.
Yeah.
He's the one who killed her.
Yeah.
How is that useless?
Because he got thrown in jail by the people that he saved, who understood that she was crazy. Tyrion, who then says Bran was freed because Dany was killed by Jon Snow, and then they all sent him to.
But not everyone thinks she's
flag.
crazy.
Come on,
you saw Yara stand. You saw Yara stand for her. And wanted the justice to Jon. She is part. Remember, she did not set up anyone to replace her. This is what Tyrion tried to get her to do before. A succession. There is no succession. So who runs everything? Everyone. All the houses now have to come together and figure that out. And at least one of them that we know wants Jon's head for committing treason to the queen that she didn't. Yara wasn't there to see what happened.
Yeah.
So she's not the Mad Queen to her. That's who she's supporting.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you ever think a few seasons ago that the finale episode would feature a bunch of fan favorite characters sitting around saying, who should be the king or queen? Let's just talk about it and pick somebody. That the Game of Thrones was won by them talking about it, and then Sam tries to throw out democracy. Ha 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 ha. Ha, Sam.
Yeah.
He's a maester now. How wonderful. How should it have ended? It's not about the long strokes of it. I know that in the book, a lot of this kind of stuff will probably be similar. But similar meaning how it ends. How you get there is really the most important part. Things are not told in beginning, middle, end. They're told in a long story. And this is a huge story. They threw a Song of Ice and Fire out there in this episode about, that's the story after Robert dies, which is the story we've been reading, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. Wow. And then Tyrion says, is there anything about me? Oh, no, they left that out. Ha, 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 ha. Funny show. It's just, I can't deal with it. It's hard for me to get through this. It's hard for me to get through this. I'm looking at the clock. I'm so glad.
We don't have to do an hour.
No, we're doing an hour.
We're just going to repeat the same things over and over.
No, there's things. Let's see. Let's see.
We're not going to stick the landing because it's just going to be 60 minutes of, man, they fucked it up. Well, maybe they didn't fully fuck it up.
But that's why I'm trying to read through some of the notes because maybe there's some things that.
Wait, Alex, can you declare a winner of our death pool?
Oh, can we?
Yeah, let me just.
I
take
know
a
I'm in the
look at it
mix.
for a second.
All right, take a look. Did I have Bran?
You might have. I have
Actually,
two.
none of us picked the winner. So,
Well, no, just whoever has the most people alive.
most people alive.
Yeah, we didn't pick a
Second.
king or a
I have
queen.
Sansa alive.
I drafted her for you. I fucked up. I thought she was gonna die. I almost gave you Danny. God damn me.
I'm trying to see some of the notes that
If
I
we
wrote.
tie or if I lose to you because of that pick, God damn me. This
Yeah,
was the draft,
I guess there's
everybody,
something
where
that-
we basically picked for each other unless you drew your own name and you got to pick for yourself, which I think Brian did 3 times. He had the best luck ever, and I also think he tried to draft a character that ended up not existing, which is wonderful. Guess what? That would have worked in the state of Alabama. Am I right, everybody? But let's get some fucking levity here.
If you want to get me more upset.
Yeah, let's just keep going.
Wait, let me ask you a question.
You always making.
Let me ask you a question. Bran, right?
Yeah.
As he's chosen as the king. Isn't it weird that all of a sudden everyone has an appreciation for what Bran is able to do? Like at the very end, when for this whole season it was kind of like ignored. No one really cared too much about what he does. Didn't you think that was weird?
I guess.
I mean, didn't you think that Drogon and the Jon scenes could have done something more? I guess because he's Targaryen, he didn't kill him.
Well, I don't know if Drogon could Danny was in John's arms and he was crying. So, I mean, Drogon might not assume that he killed her. That maybe someone else did and he found her. I mean, that is plausible.
I just think that all of Danny's team was like super fired up. And then all of a sudden she dies, and everyone just decides, meh, not that important.
Well, no, it was incredibly important to Grey Worm.
Forces. What about how did the Dothraki react? How did the Unsullied react? How did these people react to cut out that scene? I was pissed last week when they cut out the scene of Jon Snow. Was it last week or the week before? When Jon Snow told Arya and Sansa two episodes ago that he was a Targaryen, because I feel like that's important. I think it's important to know how the main characters understand the information that comes to them. And for that to be cut out after Danny dies, it really is crazy. It really is crazy. I don't know what to say. There's other things.
What do you want to discuss?
I was going to say something about Brienne. Okay, let's talk about Brienne.
Okay.
She fills in Jaime's story. That's
Yes.
nice. There you go.
That's sweet.
That's sweet. I like that she said died protecting his queen. That I liked.
That's nice,
That's
huh?
nice.
Very classy.
I think that they took Brienne and pretty much just had her fuck Jaime and then stay behind for the war, but which was weird.
Well, she's
because she is one of the strongest.
Head of the
best
Knights
knights.
Guard.
So she should have been with. Oh,
Now?
yes, I saw. Yes.
Or the King's
And-
Guard.
Yeah, and,
So that's cool.
Pod is a
Who
gold
would have thought
cloak,
Podrick?
yes.
People thought Podrick wouldn't last season fucking 4. And look at this son of a bitch. He's the royal wheelchair mover. That's important.
Yeah,
That gets a page in the book.
that is.
Sir Podrick of Wheels.
I can't believe it. Arya. Let's talk about Arya for a second. She's going to map the world.
Yeah, that fits her
Mapping out
character,
the
I think.
world. Yeah, sure.
I think it does.
Yeah. Sure.
I didn't think she wanted to stick around to do anything. She looks for adventure, man.
Yeah.
She wasn't going to take over a house. I thought maybe that she had a moment when she flipped seeing the Hound and his hatred, which to me, that was a little silly. It's like, oh, okay, you're right. I don't want to be you. I'm already gone this far. But maybe she had that moment. She doesn't want to be a killer. I'm like, maybe she will go marry Homeboy or
Gendry.
the good old Gendry, who apparently did, I can't believe you didn't catch this, said his name wrong.
He said Gendry?
No, he said he was Gendry Rivers, which would not be if you're born in King's Landing as a bastard. I forget what that is, but you wouldn't be a river.
I don't think.
That would be the Riverlands.
I
So
can't even
he got
believe
that wrong.
That's a detail.
Yeah,
What
it
are you
is.
talking about? I know.
How crazy is that?
It is.
It just
Bronn
shows.
is the master of
But
coin.
Here's the thing. I don't know. Like, I'm done with this already because I've already. These episodes are what they are. It's clearly not what the show was at the beginning. I'm not totally dissatisfied because I took any emotion out of it because I just knew they weren't going
not good,
to do it
though.
right. It was fair enough. I like where it ends up in a lot of ways, so I will put my head on that. But I don't know how much more we could talk about this was rushed and that the guys checked out.
It's not-
Because that's clearly what it was. Missing details. Or they really just want people pissed off, which I respect. That, bravo, gentlemen.
I don't think
D&D. D&D. What a fucking lazy people in D&D.
I have our death pools.
All right,
let's do
my
that.
love.
Okay, so it seems as though Brian and I are tied, and James and you are tied.
That
but
would be
let's go
fitting.
through it to make
Let's
sure.
go through it.
All right.
So I had Theon, Varys, John, Braun, and Grey Worm.
3 people
Oh,
alive,
you got
Alex.
3.
Alex
I got 3
wins.
alive.
Whoa.
Brian had Gendry, Jorah, Tormund, Lyanna, and Podrick.
3.
So he's also got 3 alive.
And I got 2.
James had Tyrion, Jaime, Cersei, Davos, and the Hound.
Davos. And
Davos,
Tyrion.
baby. Another one everyone thought was going to die. What a poor son of a crabber. Son of a bitch onion knight. Master of ships. And then give us Marissa's wonderful team, please.
Marissa had Sansa, Melisandre, Beric, Euron, and Bran. So you guys both had 2 left over.
Yeah. And I drafted one of them for you. God damn me. I think
And
I drafted
who
a bunch of
drafted
you.
Tyrion for Alex? That was a terrible choice.
No.
Brian.
Tyrion. I have Tyrion.
Yeah.
Oh, you had
James
Tyrion.
had
How's that
Oh,
a
Tyrion.
tip?
you gave Alex. You gave him Tyrion.
I gave James like all of the Lannisters, and Brian said it was a
Yeah.
terrible mistake, but it turned out to work pretty
Pretty
well.
Who won? Look at
Pretty
you
good.
two. Now you guys got a paper, rock, scissors to see who wins.
Oh, I'll give you this. We saw Ghost. Hey.
I didn't know he was missing an ear.
Yeah.
in the last battle.
I know. I only knew that because I read about it online. He
It's
did.
a good look for him.
He lost an ear, and now Jon Snow finally touched him. I mean, would the reunion? Wouldn't the reunion mean a little bit more if Jon Snow looked like he gave even a half a fuck when Ghost went away?
Once again, that was lazy and foreshadowing at the same time. Like, oh, he's going to see him again.
Bronn is the Lord of Highgarden and the Master of Coin. Everyone on Reddit immediately said, how could you let Bronn, of all people, be the Master of Coin? He's clearly the least qualified or trustworthy
Wait.
person for that post.
He
just
likes
made
money
him
more than anyone else.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It was a fun scene with him. Yo, you just got to let Braun be Braun, baby.
How
A
about-
wolf's going to wolf, a dragon's going to dragon, and Braun going to Braun. Braun wants to pay for pussy. That's what he wants.
I have
Doesn't matter if he's part of the council and he's rebuilding a fucking country after all these senseless wars and a dragon. Braun wants to build, just like Littlefinger. He's going to end up owning them. Yeah, Braun. Be who he is. Master of coin, always. Master of pimp. Pimp, pimper.
I have
Ain't
another
even a
question
sentence.
for you.
Yeah, please. I don't have an answer.
What was this wheel they kept referencing all episode? Oh, the wheel.
Well-
Danny referenced the wheel multiple times.
Because that became a
Tyrion
big
referenced
theme.
The wheel. Yeah, in the last 80 minutes, it became a
It was
very
a big
theme
theme
of the series.
That came out it was a big idea from seasons ago. I want to break the wheel, right? Lannister, Baratheon, Stark. They're just spokes on a wheel. Let's break the wheel.
Yeah.
They went a little too much all at once and not enough before. They really didn't bring up the wheel. It was a theme, and she was basically breaking the wheel when she was a babyface. She was basically freeing people, and it looked like she was going to do things differently. Now, the wheel is broken. The houses are going to elect the next leader going forward, apparently.
Look,
It's no more, you're born and you're entitled, which is kind of cool.
no,
I like
the
that it
Starks
got
have
to that.
all the power. I mean, Sansa's the Queen of the North. Bran is the King of Westeros. That seems like there's some power in that family. And if you think everything's all hunky dory now, I assure you that something will happen.
Of course
and
it
the
will.
Starks are gonna. So no, you're not creating some whole new world. It just made it feel. Just in the end, I guess my final thoughts on this. Because we literally had a point in the show where Tyrion was just fixing chairs before his meeting.
Yeah.
In the
He was
finale
nervous.
episode
It was
of Game
the
of
first
Thrones.
small council
Yes.
meeting of the new world.
I understand. Right, moments after Dany died, we got nothing but Tyrion fixing chairs. But
Well, that wasn't moments after she died.
yes, it was.
And not in story. This
In-
is weeks.
yeah. Brienne wrote updated Jamie's thing first. I will leave this way. I will say I've had a lot of fun watching this show. I obviously am a huge fan of the books. I've always I cannot wait to read this story and how it actually is going to happen. And knowing the broad strokes, I guess, is interesting because now I can go back and reread and kind of sense where things are going. And I hope the books come out soon. I've loved doing the show, the show with you, James and Mattern. I swear to God, if I wasn't doing the podcast with you, I never would have watched the first season that went past the books. That was a big issue for me. But I did it for this show.
Yeah.
And I sit here disappointed. I think that they really they dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. That's all you can say. You had all this great source. You had such a great story in your hands. And I think that we will hear for years to come. We'll hear from the actors. We'll hear from everybody that this was disappointing. Jamie Lannister, the actor plays him, Nikolai, whatever, came out and said that he would fight with the writers all the time last week about his character arc. So in the end, there was amazing moments in Game of Thrones. The Red Wedding. I mean, things that we gasped, we cried. I didn't cry once this whole season. I think that's pretty telling because I cry a lot. And the feeling wasn't there. And I think there was a disconnect very clearly
I think
from
it's
the
a
source
cold
material.
season.
Yeah,
I think there's a coldness to it, yes.
And I think that the source material just, you could sense when that stopped and when that disconnected. And you know, c'est la vie.
It was
Game of
hurry
Thrones.
up and get it
I will not
over.
be watching the prequels. I can tell you that.
Well, that will
much.
be their chance to redeem, I think. But it will be different people doing it.
It's
So
not the story, though. You can't redeem an additional fake story that is not the story in the first place.
Well, you like the world.
Not anymore.
Well, that's fine. If
Not
that
until I
ruined
read
it,
the
that's
books.
sad, and that's the price they pay for rushing it.
Overall, Alex, do you want to say anything?
I don't know. I feel like you guys nailed it in general. It's just I really don't mind the way that things went, like beat wise, like story arc wise. I just am a little unhappy with the way that they got there. And more because it seems to have been just like a business decision to do it that way. Like that's the thing that makes it disappointing.
Yeah. Anthony. Is Anthony there? Anthony, do you want to say anything? You've been coming to the show every episode? No? My boyfriend Anthony does not want to say anything. He's come here every episode with us. Brian, any final thoughts on this season?
I have unpopular opinions. I feel like
Let's see what Brian has to say.
I feel like it's almost as good as the ending of The Shield, or not The Shield, The Wire, where everything just continues going on.
And don't spoil the end of The Wire because I am
Well,
not
without
watching
any
it.
details,
Please, that will
no
make
matter
this
what
night
the
even worse.
issue that we're following throughout all the story is, when the story's over, life continues.
Right.
After Dragons, after everything blows up, now it's Monday. We all have to go back to work.
We got to feed the peasants.
Yeah.
I get that.
We got to give them clean water.
I get
Yeah.
that, but you need the point. You need that middle of the story, the juice of the story to get you there effectively, and that's the problem. It's not about the fact that the story moved on. All this could happen if it was done much better. That's it. Anything else, Brian? Good?
Oh, no, we're good.
I think this, you know why this is a perfect ending? Because this show was about disappointment. It was about managing your expectations. I still will rewatch this show, and man, I really think that Robb Stark, I fool myself that Rob's going to end up winning this whole thing, and he's not going to die in the 9th episode of season 3. And he does every time. He just does. Life is disappointing. Even this, it's interesting because this entertainment is supposed to be a way to get away from it, right? And the disappointment. And it was great. And we had so many moments where you can just disconnect. But this show, one of the reasons why it was great is that it wasn't like any show. It reminded you that you're disappointed. That you're going to, boy, you got that raise? Cool. Something's going to happen. You're going to bounce a check still in 2 years. This is the beauty of this show, is that we don't get everything we want. We were never going to. We got fooled. They gave us little glimpses of it. I'd say season 6 and 7 was a lot of that. And then this year went back to, we're taking some of your fucking toys away. And you're still going to eat your goddamn Brussels sprouts. They're still going to be on your plate. But eventually,
Wow, sounds
we
glowing.
will buy you some Oreos again, and that'll happen.
Well, I'll never rewatch the show ever again. Maybe the early seasons potentially, but I will never watch the finale or that season ever again. James, I've loved doing this with you. I don't even know if there's a point to doing a recap episode, but we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Because I feel pretty completely
I'm going to,
devastated.
as a member of this council, I'm voting no recap episode because everything that just got said is going to get repeated again. So we
Yeah.
are not recapping.
Because,
This is our last episode.
And I think it's clear that because it tied up into a little bit of a little bow that really I think we both didn't want to see. And I hear you, James. I think that you're being very positive about it. But overall, you're underwhelmed. I can sense it. You're definitely not overwhelmed. Let's be honest. And it is what it is, and that's where we are.
I wish I could see this council do its thing. I would like to see that group more. I would have liked to see more Danny's evil. I would probably be not as frustrated as everyone else was with this season if I didn't know that after I get home in an hour and a half, because I live far, that I get to eat pistachios and watch Killing Eve. If Killing Eve was not going on at this time, I might go home frustrated. But I have something that even that this didn't give me what it once used to, I am now watching something else rise and become that show.
I'm going to watch Killing Eve just because you said that.
Yes.
And
So-
thank God I have Mad Men to rewatch as well.
Just like the wonderful movie 24-Hour Party People says, they bring up the double helix. One wave crashes, another rises. So guess what? This started crashing last season, and guess what came right after it? A new show, a new Phoenix called Killing Eve. And now the second season's wonderful as this ends. Excellent. And guess what? When Killing Eve's fastball goes in the 80s, there'll be another fucking Skywalker, and I'll get to watch that, and I can jump off the ship and get as much joy as I want off the new one and not care. Guess what? Star Wars sucks now. Cool. Avengers is pretty cool. I'll be honest. I don't even think I like Endgame. Fuck it.
Well-
I don't even think I like Endgame. Guess what? There's a Tarantino movie coming in a couple months. There's always something, everybody.
Well, I think by you even saying that Star Wars now, where you push it too far and you start doing all these other things and people are going to be unhappy
I don't think it's ever good, to
eventually.
be honest.
Okay, but that's fair.
In hindsight.
But I think it really, in the end, my big takeaway from Game of Thrones is that, wow, Harry Potter is a masterclass because that series was as perfect as a series could ever be, from beginning to end and everything in between. Perfection. I think really that's the big lesson from Game of Thrones is that Harry Potter is the best.
Oh,
and that's my big takeaway.
That's what they
And,
wanted to do.
I've been grateful to do this show. I love doing this on Gas Digital. It's been such a fucking blast.
What a treat.
We will definitely look into doing other shows in the future. Better Call Saul's coming back soon. Very excited about that. I love that
a great show.
I think that's one of the better shows on TV right now. And James, I love you, man.
Oh, please.
We didn't
I
even
can't.
know each other before we
I
did this
know.
show.
And we're never going to see each other again.
No, I went
all
to your
over.
comedy taping.
It's all. Hey, you can hear
buddy,
your
and
laugh.
you came to my party. I
I did.
know.
Hey, well, I don't have a date yet, but my album's coming out this summer. It's called No Segues. You will hear Marissa and Anthony's laughter all over the goddamn place.
We were front row. We were very
I
excited.
kept in you going, "Yay, James!" in the middle, and I had to in the middle of a joke, and I did something else, and I kept it in.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I got
See,
one final edit coming this week, but I think it's
Well,
gonna.
look.
I think it's gonna make it. But based on your sour demeanor towards this, I'm going to take it out and be spiteful.
No.
Just
Look,
joking.
we became friends through this.
This is wonderful.
We met one time before doing our first episode, and we had chemistry from moment one.
From the jump.
It has been so much fun.
'Cause I speak fluent Jersey girl.
We are truly friends now, and I love me some Vegas.
Yes,
and we are.
you're gonna have fun there.
Compadres. I'm going there in a few days. And I love you, buddy.
I love
and
you.
thank you for a great experience.
Thank
Thanks to
you.
the producers and Gas Digital.
Brian and Alex,
everybody
thank
else.
you. All
And
17 of our producers we've had.
we have had, Bashir, Shannon,
Howie.
Alex, and Brian. We had 5 producers.
It's
to this
like the
band.
Spinal Tap drumming position.
Just crazy.
No one
And,
spontaneously combusted though.
and I'm
Maybe
s-
Howie.
And I'm sorry I'm so angry, but I was always true to myself. And I always tried to report
Be
this
who you
show
is,
as
baby.
I really feel as a book fan from the beginning and a TV fan to the death. I think James L. Mattern is. We have done what we can do. So thank you, everybody. I love you. Follow
Take
us
care,
on Twitter.
everybody.
And yeah, we'll see you soon.